Hey, what's up everyone? I hope you're all having a fantastic day, and it's that time of the week again to do another Twitter Q&A where you can go over to my Twitter page and ask me pretty much any question about photography, gear, pretty much anything. By the way guys, if you haven't seen it yet, definitely make sure to check out my brand new list, the top 10 best cheap DSLRs. That link will be in the description box below under this video and you can take a look. But anyway, let's get started with this week's first question. So this week's first question says, hey Chris, I just bought a T5i just recently to start out for $330. Should I sell that and get the T6i or anything better than that? Well, to me, no, I probably wouldn't. The T5i is a fantastic camera, and compared to the T6i, there's not a huge amount of difference. Now, in terms of video work, there's a little bit different. The T6i's got better autofocus in video, but if you're just doing stills, the T5i is going to be perfectly adequate. Now, you've got to add $330, which is actually a really good price, so good work with that. And what I'd do is I'd probably put that extra money that you saved on the T5i instead of getting the T6i and get a couple of nice lenses. You could get this lens right here. This is a 50mm f1.8. This one here is from Yongnuo. It's about 50 bucks. And with this one, you're going to be able to learn how to do some really nice portraits because you've got that nice f1.8 aperture. Not only that, you could also buy some extra SD cards, so you're not going to be running out of SD cards, or even some filters, so you can play with things like slower shutter speed by getting an ND filter. So I think you've done a good job with the T5i. You're not going to make a massive difference in quality if you get the T6i, so stick with it. Learn to take some really good photos with it, with that T5i, and you'll do great. And then one day you'll be able to upgrade, and then you'll really notice a big difference. Next up, I've got a question saying, what got you into this field of work? Well, I've always really loved photography, capturing a moment so it kind of lasts there for the rest of time. That's one of the best things about photography. But I studied media in university and did a bit of film, did a bit of acting. Then I really figured that, you know, I could make different videos and then talk about my photography, which is my passion. And they kind of came together, and that's kind of how I fell into it. So I love photography, love making videos, and that's how I got into it. Got a question here saying, what's the difference between the Canon T7i and the T6i? Which one's better? Is it worth upgrading from the T6i to the T7i? So I guess you're talking about the brand new T7i, which is just about to be announced. It's essentially going to be called the 800D as well if you're outside of America. And there's going to be a few big upgrades. And the first one is dual pixel autofocus. So this is essentially what it comes with the Canon 70D, the 80D, 5D Mark IV. And I'm actually using it right now, and you can see that even when I move in and out, the dual pixel autofocus works really well. Now, the Canon T6i has something called Hybrid Autofocus, which works pretty well, not as good as dual pixel. So this is going to be the big upgrade. And to me, it's probably going to be worth the upgrade from the T6i to the T7i. So if you are in that kind of wanting to buy right now, I probably would wait maybe around about a month, see what comes out with the T7i and see whether or not it's going to be a good price range for you and a good camera for you, but I probably would recommend it. So the question here is saying, how do I get into photography with DSLRs? Well, if you can, I'd probably try and find a friend or someone you know who might have a DSLR that you can actually borrow, rather than going out and spending $1,000 on a Canon 70D or 80D. It's probably better to try and borrow one and see if you like it. Now, there are other little cameras that you can buy, such as, you know, the Canon G7X, which isn't a DSLR, but it takes really good photos, or even this camera right here, the Panasonic GM1, which will allow you to kind of learn about photography first. These might be better options than jumping in and buying a first DSLR, but if you can, I'd always recommend borrowing one, seeing what it's like, playing around with it, and then that's the best way to get into it. So I've got a question here saying, what's the nicest camera you've ever used? Well, that's an interesting question. I think the Nikon D500, which I reviewed last year, was a really nice camera. Canon 5D cameras, the 3 and the 4 are fantastic as well. In terms of cheaper cameras, I've always been a big fan of the Panasonic GM1. It's just such a nice little camera. Can you believe that you can get really good photos out of a little camera that, you know, fits in your pocket? And I also really like GoPros. I think this one right here is one of the best action cameras you can pretty much buy. But yeah, probably the Nikon D500 or the Canon 5D Mark IV. And we've got a question saying, can Tamron and Sigma lenses be used with any DSLR? Well, pretty much, yeah, they can. That's the idea with the third-party manufacturers. They make them for things like Canon and Nikon and Sony. So the only thing that you need to check when you buy it is that it's got a Canon mount if you've got a Canon DSLR, or a Nikon mount if you've got a Nikon DSLR. And that's the only thing that's going to really affect it. So you won't be able to put a Sigma Nikon mount on a Canon, but you will be able to put a Sigma Canon mount on a Canon. So just check that before you buy it. So that was another Twitter Q&A. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, I'd love it if you leave a thumbs up because that's always appreciated. Definitely make sure to check out my brand new list, the top 10 best cheap DSLRs. That link is in the description box below under this video. You can take a look. Hope you have a fantastic day. I'll see you next time. Bye.